Namaste, I'm Shanti. So welcome to this week's class of meditation, where we'll be talking about nervousness and anxiety, all completely natural phenomena. And in fact, I'm always totally amazed by our stunning capacity to cope to cope successfully with all of life's dips and downs and challenges in such a way that it outstrips our capacity to feel nervousness. We're quite marvelous machines. Sometimes in the hours, days, weeks, or months leading up to an event that we believe will test our limits, such is our marvelousness that we begin to self-regulate ourselves. And we begin a process of decompression. We continually soothe and decompress ourselves as our levels of anxiety start to mount. Yet, even with all that soothing, some of us do increasingly get worked up. That is until the moment of truth arrives and we discover that all our concern, all our nervousness, all our anxiousness and worry was for nothing. It was all made up most of the time. We are always almost stronger and more capable than we believe ourselves to be, especially when we realize that anxiety is not rational in nature. It's not rational. It's not logical. And because it's not rational and because it's not logical, it means that we cannot work through it using human rational or human logic as the only tool. Reasoning and discussion can help us recognize the relative nonsense of unwanted worry. And it really is absolute nonsense most of the time. We just continually make up a scenario because we're trying to use our experience, our wisdom to fill in the gaps of knowledge that we don't have. Nonsense. But more often than not, the truest comfort we can find in redirecting this nonsense or these patterns of thought is through engaging our minds through spiritual practices, meditation, or mindfully engaging in any activity. It could be painting, sewing, gardening, knitting, any activity that we find soothing and relaxing, or even engaging or energizing. Now, whilst we may find it difficult to keep focused on the dual phenomenon of thought and emotions at the same time, we can actually use this limiting capacity to our advantage in helping us to stay completely centered during any period, especially any period leading up to a potential tricky experience. Staying centered is vital because it'll help you make all the right decisions. When we concentrate on something unrelated to our trigger of worry or anxiety, such as breathing, again, meditation, visualizations, pleasurable pursuits, or even exercise, anxiety gently, very gently just dissipates, melts away all naturally, all on its own. Sometimes if we just sit there and allow those repetitive thoughts to go on and on and on, we end up making ourselves even more anxious or even ill. And in fact, meditation is such a massively useful coping mechanism as it provides us with a means to ground ourselves very, very quickly, even if it's just watching the rise and fall of our breath. And in fact, it's so effective that we can do it quickly in any moment, any place, any space, any time. And in fact, taking the time to practice meditation daily is absolutely vital for your ongoing well-being. Now, you only have to meditate for about 5 minutes a day. And, we have 24 hours in our day. And I would challenge anybody who says that they don't have just 5 minutes Just that 5 minutes of closing your eyes, just that 5 minutes of focusing on your breathing, just that 5 minutes of letting the mind go into kind of an idle or a slow engine speed, as it were, if you're a car, can be so beneficial when it's accumulated over many, many days. Now, the other ways that we can deal very quickly and effectively with nervousness and anxiety is to be active listeners. Now, being actively listening during potentially difficult periods can be very, very beneficial. And again, I talked about our washing machine minds. They love it. They love to tumble things around this way and that way, which of course is totally natural. As I was saying earlier, we're looking for a solution. Our mind, our brain, our experience, our wisdom is trying to look for solutions. Yet, while pondering and meditating on things is very useful as part of that survival mechanism of looking for answers and solutions, when this repetitive cyclic thought pattern disrupts our peace of mind, then it's very, very important that we break it very, very quickly. You know, our trusted inner circles of teachers, guides, friends, families can aid us sometimes with breaking this cyclic form of thoughts by providing to us a focal point outside of our sphere, outside of what's going on. And, you know, sometimes you can just sit there and talk about the color of grass. That can be enough for some people just to help them calm down. For some people, they need more in-depth conversations. But, you know, when you have that active listening, you're listening to other people's perspectives, other people's experience, other people's wisdom, or even their understanding, compassion, or words of comfort. We shouldn't be so quick to ignore those close to us as often as we do. And I know that we always do. The intense emotional flare ups you experience just before you are set to engage with a challenge is worth understanding, because invariably it's a mixture. It's a mixture of excitement and fear. So I'm just going to say that again. When we have emotional flare-ups just before an experience, it's a mixture of excitement and fear. We can use our established mechanisms to take steps to eliminate the fear. Okay, so we can do our breathing exercises, we can stay grounded, we can stay focused, we can be prepared. And in doing this, in eliminating the fear element, you can more fully enjoy the excitement element that's present. And when you're excited about doing something, your whole perspective of it completely changes. And you can use the excitement to um, fuel your ability to scale challenging heights, because you become essentially more creative. So try and remember that next time you're in that flare-up situation. Lose the fear, engage the excitement. And it's not some kind of strange, weird thing that you're doing. It's just focusing on the natural behaviors that are going to serve you best in any given situation. And it's true, don't forget that within Buddhism, we talk a lot about being the best versions of yourself. And that's just one of the very, very small things that we can do. Now, it's also true that although you might find it difficult to avoid getting worked up, your full awareness of the forces acting on your feelings will help you return to your center, being fully aware of what's going on and accepting that you are facing some hurdles in that moment, in that time. They're there and they're real. But if you go into it balanced and centers, they won't be as tall or as high as they first appeared. So there's a couple of quick and important wins there that we can do about challenging anxiety or nervousness, and about how by looking inwards and focusing on the excitement versus the fear and talking to people, and not always trying to approach things too logically, can help us make those barriers really small. So